I got the unction. So, yeah, okay. At this point, because I've been preparing my people, understanding there'd be those people that are, I'm walking away from this because none of this makes any sense and nothing he says has come true and all this. And then there'd be those people that were with me for 3.5 years that I actually prepared them for this great tribulation. So we're kind of speaking to children. So I've broken things down based on stages of my kingdom's development. And then the obedient acts of the faithful have allowed me to kind of showcase them. Here is an example, right? So you gauge it like this. In your walk, the closer you get to me, you eventually reach that place where I don't want to really do anything except be with the Lord. Everything else becomes an inconvenience or a lesser pleasurable experience for you for various reasons. Whether that be you have to deal with the enemy's attacks, um, it feels like you walked away from this amazing God filled adventure filled with his presence, understanding given to you. You feel loved, understood. You're safe. You're with your God. So your spirit naturally does not want to leave. So when we're looking at what I'm saying, and I keep saying it, you pretty much understand the Father is already here. So then we have to logically come to the conclusion we that remained with the Father are in heaven. Let that sink in for a bit. So we're already, you can't go any um, higher than that. We're exactly in the safest place. And I hear people, I am listening. No, you are not doing. You are being a hearer of the word, not a doer of the word. That is what's happening. So we broke this down into a life built on what do you desire, Father? Tell me, and I will do it. So gauge your spiritual maturity there. Examine your own heart. There's your C.S. Lewis cigarette. Thank you, of course. Here, yeah, do that. From what I've seen, there are very few like this. Godly women that stood their ground remained faithful to me. I'm just going to say it. So then the issue became, husbands, you're going to save your wife. That is your role in this marriage. You are the head of the household. You're going to do it. So I'm going to equip and give you more revelation. We start there. Put it down. Now, the more you are in motion, doing what you are supposed to be doing, if you're in one place with the Father, very difficult to deceive you. Because you're talking to me right now and I'm talking to you. So if somebody else were to start speaking, like in that previous video, that was purposefully designed through God's perfect timing to give you a picture. That voice is different. I said this was going to be expansive. Automatically, you could tell that voice is not the same as this voice, right? There. Now, I'll say, since you were there with me from the beginning, then this is more easily understood for you. Some can correlate that. Didn't you say that at the Last Supper? So again, biblical understanding is a prefaced requirement for getting closer to actually understanding the portion of the Father he allows. Now, the divide between why the marriages failed is what we're looking at. And he told us response time. So we're blessed first that he's critiqued our kingdom marriages, that he's involved in our kingdom marriages, and that he will not allow any other successful relationship between the prodigal and anyone else to actually work. Now, that leaves the prodigal with the blessing of, I have a father who doesn't want me with someone who will damage me further. There you go. Be a man, mysterious as the light side of. What we looked at for the last 3 years is you guys are wasting precious moments of love and togetherness, fellowship that you could have, because he decided the church is going to start with marriage, and the kingdom marriage was going to be your particular, as any king or queen back in the day had to align with the church. You are the male perspective of the kingdom marriage. You are the female perspective of the kingdom marriage. Let's take this back to Adam and Eve. Now, he had said it was going to be like the Garden of Eden. So you get a picture of your purpose, your calling, your life right now. Garden of Eden. Somebody took your prodigal. Okay. Now, in the Garden of Eden, both Adam and Eve were always provided for. In this day and age, for the most part, God has provided for the faithful spouse. The devil has provided for the prodigal. One of you has your life built on the rock, using me and Mary for example. I am in the place of, I just want to be with the Father. Lo and behold, I graduated to that level because he basically said, you know what? You really do actually just want to be with me. Do this, 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 do this. 3 years later, we actually had our first house. So many in my kingdom understand, well, the Lord doesn't let me work. Now you understand why. You are already preserved, kept, never left my sight. The prodigal has had a more tumultuous interaction. The only time they have been with God is when they were with their kingdom spouse. This is so there's no confusion. I always start small, I observe, I confirm, then I speak. But I and the Father are one. So. Okay. Spent 3 years listening to the familiar spirit in people because I've been in them. So I learned a lot. When someone is walking away, when someone has a question, what they need to hear, how to put it in front of them. And I've been telling people for a long time, stay inside for the most part. So it depends on what level you're at. So if you're going to church and you're a Christian, then you're far at this point in time behind. Very, very down here. That's where you're at. Not a good place to be. We are in the air. So, of course, it's going to seem different. It's supposed to seem different. I already understood that many would be spiritually dead or dying. So then when you're in that place, because I've been comparing it to this tribulation experience I've already gone through. And I'm the last person alive. Yes, we are the last one standing. Still standing. Still standing. What we need to be wary about is looking around at others that are appearing to be either raised up by me or in relation to the kingdom of heaven. That's why it's very important. You don't look left, you don't look right. Always remember that. Man does not live by bread alone, but by every word from the mouth of God. Once your kingdom spouse, prodigal, has told you something, you have to be able to be in that place that Eve was not at, because she had no comparison to her husband. So who is this guy talking to? That's our Father. So without Eve having a father in her life, what's that? Remember, parable. So the husband, head of the household, like a father. So you're both husband and father to your wife. You see the symbolic parallel to Christ being the head of the church. As we logically assume that God had a perfect church designed in his thoughts. So if you keep focused on that, that will make it easier for you not to have to deal with the familiar spirit. So we look at reality, what's in front of us. If the prodigal has not reconciled to the kingdom spouse, the prodigal has the familiar spirit, either has not identified it and could not, because it's like a class they never even entered the city the school is in. So, talking to them in that type of vernacular and language that I will call biblically literate is not going to be received immediately without the life experience. So October will cement that. We were taught live day by day. So I had told people, which of you can add even an hour to your life? Okay. Now, don't do that. I allow you to see the interaction between me and my father at the expense of it making me look delusional and crazy, or he has a demon. To which their response was, if Satan drives out Satan, how then will his kingdom stand? A house divided against itself will fall. As we look at everything that's happening, understanding God's people, the bride, was already taken into the air, not with the intention of continuing in the mire, admiring the dross. So, when I speak just like I did 2,000 years ago, usually. But then having to dumb it down has probably caused some confusion. That being said, prodigals are hearing. Step one. Amen.